Hi, this is Sherry Summers with Everyday Pronunciation. Today, our practice sentence is, it's one of my favorite restaurants. It's one of my favorite restaurants. There are a couple of words in here that you really want to pay attention to because most likely, maybe not, but most likely you're not saying them correctly. Can you guess what those are? Probably the most obvious one is restaurants, but the second one is favorite. So restaurants, favorite. Let me point out how to pronounce these words, and then we'll practice the sentence a number of times until it can just, roll off your tongue. So let's start with this word, restaurant. The weird thing about restaurant in English, I know this word shows up in a lot of other languages, but you have this spelling of AU, right? And you're probably wondering how to pronounce that spelling. Well, guess what? You don't. You don't pronounce it at all. It's one of these weird words where certain sounds are just squeezed out. They're gone. So you end up with, instead of 3 syllables like it looks like, you have just 2. So the word is rest. Rest as in take a rest. Slow down, sleep, rest, rest. The second part of the word is rant. Rant. So it's got that NT sound that goes together. Restaurant. We're going to put an S on this one so we get rants. Rants. So you go to a restaurant. Restaurant. You can kind of hear the S and the T pushing together, right? Restaurants. They really all belong together, but when we break them down into pieces, you can go one way or the other. Restaurant or restaurant, or it doesn't matter. It all works out to be the same. We're going to put our main stress on rest because that is where we have the primary stress in the word restaurant, but there's a secondary stress on rant. So what that means is it's going to be a medium sound. It's not too small. It's not also really big either like rest, but this vowel right here, that is the vowel ah, as in father, raw, rants. You don't see the spelling of A pronounced as ah all that much, believe it or not, but it is in this case. Restaurants, restaurants, restaurants. Okay, the word before that, believe it or not, it does the same thing. So you take a look at favorite, right? Well, this O in here is generally not pronounced. So we end up again with 2 syllables. So we have fay. This is the A, the long A, fay. Now we can put the V together with the R or not. Let's go ahead and put it in the first syllable. We're going to say fave, fave. So like F-A-V-E, fave, fave. The second syllable, however, is unstressed. So we end up with a schwa in there, and there's nothing between the V and the R. So here's the word. Favorite, 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 favorite restaurants, favorite restaurants. Rest is the strongest part. Favorite restaurants. Okay, favorite restaurants. Now, the my, it's going to be kind of small because it has an I sound in it. You would never make that into a schwa, but it will be a little word, so it'll be a little my favorite, my favorite, my favorite restaurants, my favorite restaurants, my favorite restaurants. Of becomes small, and generally we will say of. So you take out the O, you put a schwa there instead, you get of. Sometimes you might hear You might hear one of my, and it's really probably more common than you think. So it doesn't matter which way you go. You can say of or So of my or a my. And then one is pronounced fairly clearly. It starts with an O, but it actually has a W sound. One. So O-N-E sounds exactly the same as W-O-N. Their pronunciation is the same. So if I said, I won one prize, won, they're the same. So one, we'll give that a little stress. And then it's at the beginning, that is usually reduced. Because it's at the beginning of the sentence, I might go ahead and say it's. But I might also go ahead and just say uts. Okay, I'm always trying to push you to do the schwa, but on the other hand, sometimes I notice I don't even do it when I am teaching the lesson. So it doesn't matter so much. You just want to make sure that you get the nice strong ts, uts, it's, uts, it's, uts. It's not a, I don't mean it's a strong word. I just mean the T and the S sound kind of strong together. So we have uts, it's one. It's one of, oh, I didn't do this. Let's push this one over. We have the N before the of. You can push that N into the vowel after it, and we get nov, one of, one of. It's one of, it's one of, or it's wanna, it's wanna, it's one of my, it's one of my, I hope you're trying this with me. It's one of my favorite restaurants. So it's one of my favorite restaurants. 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 Now remember, whenever you say one of, you've got to use the plural over here. So that's why we hear the restaurants. He's one of my favorite friends, or she's one of my favorite people. Sometimes people want to say friend or person, but it's always plural when you say one of. So it's one of my favorite restaurants. So who wants to go out to Cucina Cucina? Oh, I do. It's one of my favorite restaurants. What do you think about that place on the corner? It's one of my favorite restaurants. Or it's one of my favorite restaurants. It's one of my favorite restaurants. So this is pretty useful if you want to talk about restaurants. Make sure that you don't put the AU in there, restaurant. And anytime you talk about something that's your favorite, you don't hear the O in there, favorite. So you could say this sentence, it's one of my favorite restaurants, or you could talk about something else that's your favorite, or you could talk about restaurants. It's very useful. I hope you will practice a number of times today. Get it so it rolls off your tongue. You'll be able to adjust the sentence to whatever you need, and it will sound great. All right, have a very good day, and if you have a chance, go to one of your favorite restaurants and order something good. Bye.